Marcus Hayes sat at the small wooden table in his cabin, the morning sunlight cutting through the blinds in sharp lines across his laptop. He was in the middle of a high-stakes virtual meeting with the county sheriff, discussing neighborhood safety protocols and sensitive community issues. His focus was absolute. Every word mattered, every gesture recorded. Then the front door slammed open without warning. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening. A woman, loud, brash, and unmistakably a Karen from the HOA, stormed in with an air of entitlement. "Marcus, what are you doing? This is my property now," she shouted, her voice echoing against the cabin walls. She hadn't knocked. She hadn't announced herself. She had barged in, certain she had authority over every inch of the space. Marcus froze, a mixture of shock and simmering anger bubbling beneath his calm exterior. He could hear the sheriff on the other end of the call, politely waiting, a faint murmur of concern in his voice, as Marcus tried to maintain composure. Every muscle in his body tensed, but he didn't yell. He didn't charge. He simply gestured toward the computer. The HOA woman ignored the subtle signal. She continued ranting, waving her hands like she was painting the air with her indignation. "You can't just do whatever you want. We've had complaints." Marcus felt the room shrink. Dust motes floated lazily in the golden light, catching on the edge of her sunglasses, on the rings of her fingers, sparkling in a way that mocked the tension in the room. He swallowed, forcing himself to stay measured. The sheriff on the screen cleared his throat. Marcus could feel the weight of accountability pressing on him from two sides. Finally, Marcus spoke. Calm, measured, deliberate. "Ma'am, I'm currently in a meeting with the county sheriff. This is not an appropriate time to discuss complaints." Her face twisted, disbelief mixing with indignation. "A meeting? With the sheriff? You think that stops me?" she demanded. The cabin felt smaller, air thicker. Marcus's heart hammered in a rhythm he tried to control, a drumbeat of moral tension. He could have shouted, pushed, or demanded her leave. But the sheriff's presence gave him a tether, a reminder that the world was watching, that how he handled this could either escalate or diffuse disaster. The sheriff, calm and authoritative, interjected through the screen, his voice carrying the weight of law and patience. "Ma'am, please step outside while we finish this meeting. We'll address your concerns afterward." The HOA woman hesitated, her mouth opened, closed, and opened again. She looked from the glowing screen to Marcus, whose eyes held steady, unflinching. Her confidence wavered under the scrutiny. She realized that the man she assumed powerless had both authority and reason on his side. Murmurs from neighbors outside, peeking through windows, began to filter in. Some whispered, some gasped quietly. It was a scene of unexpected public accountability, the moral tension hanging thick in the cabin. She took a tentative step backward. Marcus breathed out slowly, letting the storm of indignation roll off him. He returned his attention to the meeting, but he couldn't ignore the lingering lesson in human behavior unfolding before him. This wasn't just about property rights or HOA rules. This was about assumptions, entitlement, and the courage to stand firm without violence. Finally, the woman, muttering under her breath, left, slamming the door one last time. The cabin exhaled with him. Dust danced in the sunlight, settling into quiet, golden tranquility. The sheriff nodded approvingly through the screen, a silent acknowledgement that Marcus had handled the confrontation with integrity. He leaned back, running a hand through his hair, the adrenaline slowly subsiding. The room was quiet again, save for the faint hum of the computer and the soft tapping of his own thoughts. Marcus reflected on the strange twist of fate, a woman so sure of her power, undone by patience, calm, and the quiet presence of authority, because sometimes strength isn't loud. Sometimes it's measured, composed, and guided by moral clarity. And as Marcus looked out the cabin window at the trees swaying gently in the morning light, he realized that a single confrontation could teach more about dignity, patience, and justice than a lifetime of debate ever could. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits and it finds its way back. And in that cabin, in the quiet aftermath of chaos, Marcus understood that standing firm, standing ethical, and standing calm could turn a potential disaster into a moment of truth, reflection, and respect. Thank you for listening. If this story inspired you, Share your thoughts below. Subscribe for more cinematic, suspenseful, real-life stories. And remember, your voice matters.